All right, so we're diving back into Manjiro's story. This Japanese castaway adopted by an American whaling captain in the 1840s. Last time, we left off with his rescue from that deserted island, just finding his sea legs aboard the John Howland.
And get this, now we see this next part of his journey from all these different angles, kind of like piecing together a puzzle.
Oh, I like that. What do we have to work with this time?
We've got excerpts from the book itself, some thought-provoking discussion questions, even a rundown from a podcast episode, believe it or not.
Wow, so it's like we've got front row seats, any backstage passes to the story all at once.
Exactly. Each one gives us a totally different lens on the same events.
I'm ready to see where this goes. So, last time we left off, things were looking up for Manjiro. He was safe aboard the John Howland. What happens next?
Well, this is where things take a bit of a turn. Manjiro and his friend Goemon, they're on the beach. Seems harmless enough, right?
Right, what could go wrong on a beach?
Well, they end up crossing paths with a group of, let's just say, less than friendly whalers.
Uh-oh. This is giving me some bad vibes already.
Yeah, and this little detail, it actually speaks volumes about what life was like back then for whalers in the 19th century.
I've always kind of romanticized the idea of sailing the open ocean, but I guess it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Not even close. It was harsh conditions, isolation, danger at every turn. It attracted a certain type of person, often hardened, wary, world-weary. The vast ocean wasn't the only risk these sailors faced.
So it wasn't just the whales they had to worry about. Manjiro and Goemon really were walking into a whole other world, and the book doesn't sugarcoat it either, does it?
Not one bit. The author throws you right into the thick of it, sensory overload. You can practically smell the salt air, the whale oil, the rum.
Ugh, and probably not the good kind of rum either.
Right. It's this instant atmosphere of tension, like you're right there with them and anything could happen.
I'm already feeling on edge just thinking about it.
And remember, Manjiro and Goemon are the ultimate outsiders in this scenario, even more vulnerable than the average sailor. They're navigating unfamiliar customs, languages, and now facing a very real, very immediate threat.
Right, they don't even speak the language very well at this point. They must have felt so out of place. And then to top it all off, there's this layer of irony that's almost funny. You mentioned that some of the discussion questions we have imagine how a fifth grader might interpret this scene, and one of them pointed out that the whalers, these hardened, salty sea dogs, they accuse Manjiro of being a thief.
It's classic projection.
It is. Like, come on.
It's this really unsettling reminder of how prejudice works, even back then. These whalers, probably feeling insecure and territorial themselves, they immediately slap Manjiro and Goemon with the worst possible labels. Thieves and murderers.
They didn't even know their names. It's awful.
It is, and sadly, this tendency to other anyone different, it's not just a problem of the past, is it? It reflects that xenophobia that was rampant in 19th century America.
So, these two young men who had already been through so much find themselves facing down these intimidating figures, dealing with false accusations, cultural barriers. It's a lot to handle. How does Manjiro react? Does he just crumble under the pressure? So what happens? Does Manjiro stand his ground?
Well, he does something even better. He reaches back into his bag of tricks, so to speak, remembers that coin trick he learned from the first mate.
Oh, right, to protect his earnings. What a cool detail.
It's not just cool, it's incredibly telling. Even under pressure, his mind goes straight to that resourceful place.
It's like he was born for this kind of life, Always adapting, always thinking ahead. Most people just freeze up.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, was there already a part of him, even subconsciously, that knew he was meant for a life that demanded this kind of resilience? 19th century America, especially for someone with his background, it was sink or swim. You had to be resourceful just to survive, let alone thrive.
It's true. He had that fire in him from the start. But it's interesting. The podcast summary you shared, it points out this contrast between Manjiro's experience and Goemon's.
Oh, absolutely. It's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
While Manjiro's thinking on his feet, Goemon's completely paralyzed by fear.
Which, let's be real, that's a perfectly natural reaction. They're facing down these intimidating whalers in a strange land. It'd be weirder if he wasn't scared.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this whole scene so relatable. It's like they embody the two sides of our own reactions to the unknown, right? You've got Goemon representing that cautious voice within us, that instinct to play it safe, stick to the familiar. He's a reminder that fear is a natural response, especially in a situation like that.
Better safe than sorry, as they say. But then you've got Manjiro drawn to adventure, that eagerness to see what's around the next corner, even if it means a little risk. He's not going to let fear dictate his actions, that's for sure.
It's the same spirit that led him to interact with the whalers who eventually rescued him. He's brave.
Exactly. But this difference in their reactions, it becomes even more significant in the next part of the story. Because it's not just about escaping immediate danger anymore, is it?
Not at all. It becomes about how each of them processes what they've been through and ultimately what it means for their futures.
They both face the same external threat, but their internal responses that couldn't be more different. So they managed to give those whalers the slip, and we find them watching the sunrise together. Which, by the way the book describes it, with the light washing over everything, almost feels like a new beginning. But I'm sensing it's not just any sunrise, is it?
You got it. That sunrise, it's a powerful symbol. A new dawn for Manjiro, you could say. A pivotal turning point in his life. You mentioned that you thought that one question from the fifth grader's perspective was interesting. It was about the sunrise, wasn't it?
Yes. It was so insightful. Seeing that sunrise as a symbol, even at that age, it stuck with me.
It's incredible. For Goemon, it almost seems ominous, a reminder of the dangers that might still be out there.
But for Manjiro,
For Manjiro, it's all about possibilities. He sees that sunrise as a beacon of hope, a sign of the adventures that await him in America. Two people, same sunrise, completely different interpretations.
it really makes you think, doesn't it? Which one of us would we be in that moment? Would we see the danger, like Goemon, or the opportunity, like Manjiro? It's incredible how differently they each experience that same sunrise, but in a way, it makes sense, right? Our past experiences, our fears, our hopes, they all color how we see the world around us.
Absolutely. And for Manjiro, this isn't just a fleeting feeling, a momentary sense of hope. This is a life-altering crossroads. He's deciding his future.
Because it's not just about choosing America, is it? It's about choosing a whole new life, a new language, a new culture. He's basically starting from scratch.
Exactly. He's leaving everything he's ever known behind. And it's even more remarkable when you think about it. He's doing it with very little information. He doesn't have a guidebook, a roadmap.
It doesn't even have Google Maps.
Right. He's taking this leap of faith into the unknown with just this gut feeling that it's the right thing to do.
Which makes you wonder, what drives a person to do that? To embrace that level of uncertainty. It's easy to say, go for it, when you've got all the information at your fingertips. But this was different.
It really makes you think about that age-old question, doesn't it? What is it that pushes some people to chase the unfamiliar while others find comfort in what they know? Why Manjiro? What was it about him, even at that young age, that allowed him to face the unknown with such, I don't know, such fearlessness?
It's a question worth pondering, and we might never have a definitive answer. But what we do know is that his choice, that single decision to embrace the unknown, it had a ripple effect that continues to this day.
Imagine if he had listened to that voice of caution, if he'd chosen the familiar over the unknown. Would he have lived a happy life? A fulfilling one? Would we even know his name today?
It's mind-blowing when you think about it like that. One decision changing the course of history. And I think that's why his story still resonates with people today, centuries later.
Absolutely. There's something deeply inspiring about it, don't you think? That courage to step outside your comfort zone, to see what's beyond the next horizon. It's something we all long for, in a way.
It's a reminder that we don't need all the answers to start a new adventure. Sometimes it's that willingness to face the unknown, that leap of faith that truly defines us.
Beautifully said. And sometimes those journeys lead us to incredible places filled with possibilities we could never have imagined. And, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as crossing an ocean, right? It could be starting that project you've been putting off, or finally booking that trip, or even just striking up a conversation with someone new. It's about tapping into that same spirit of adventure that Manjiro embodied.
That willingness to embrace new experiences, to see where life takes you. Manjiro's story is proof that amazing things can happen when we step outside our comfort zones.
Absolutely. Well said.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that thought. This deep dive may be over for now, but the exploration, much like Manjiro's journey, well, that's something that stays with you. So who knows, maybe it'll even inspire your next adventure.